If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, but let's get right to it. The Tomorrow War. I had a friend of mine on Facebook who worked on the movie, was posting some pictures, and I was like, dude, I haven't seen the movie yet. Why didn't you put spoiler alert in your feed? Anyway, he had some great shots from behind the scenes of the film. And I did not see either of the previews for this. I was busy working I worked 99 hours one week on this Lifetime movie for the last 5 weeks. So I've been totally swamped. And I finally kind of see the hype that's going along. Everyone's going, oh, you got to watch the Tomorrow War. And then someone commented on one of my videos and said, hey, are you going to do a review? I'll just give my thoughts. The wife and I watched it last night, and I thought it was okay. It was a pleasant surprise overall. I'm not a Chris Pratt fan. There's certain actors that I just gravitate towards. And Chris just isn't one of them. I like him in the Marvel stuff with Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's more an ensemble thing where there's other characters involved. It's not just, if it was just him, Star-Lord is the only guy in the movie, I probably would skip the movies. I'm just not a Chris Pratt fan. Just not. But this movie was okay. I thought he did pretty good in it. I have a 19-month-old daughter, so it's one of those deals where I can understand his predicament, now that I have a daughter and a wife, and if something like this happened where there was a lottery and then you were drafted and had to go fight a war 30 years in the future and all that, I'm going to spoil some things. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't go any further. But for the most part, I thought the movie was good. I thought the action was very well paced. I thought the movie was very well paced. This could have been something that just, from an editorial standpoint would have been just a nightmare, but it was very nicely paced. I liked the older daughter version in the future, played by Yvonne Strahovski. I think that's how you say her name. I hope I just didn't butcher that. I probably did. I really enjoyed the dynamic of once he figured out it was his daughter, that they were trying to save the world and all this other kind of stuff. J.K. Simmons was fantastic in the movie. He never lets me down. I don't think I've ever seen a bad movie with J.K. Simmons in it. Sam Richardson did a good job as like the comic relief. I will say towards the end of the movie, I was kind of done. I was trying to tap out with that character. The jokes were good in the beginning to kind of lighten up what was about to come, but then to have him as comic relief all the way through, I was like, I'm done. I was done with that guy. I thought the creature was very interesting. I felt like it had some Men in Black stuff there with the kind of the tentacle that opens up and the tooth flies out as like a dart or a spear. It had the Men in Black. I think it also felt like A Quiet Place, the creature in A Quiet Place. The problem now, and I've said this about A Quiet Place too, is we've seen just about between all the Star Wars films and all the other movies, Starship Troopers, everything that's ever come before this movie, we've just seen almost every incarnation of aliens we can find. They try to keep making them look scarier and more primitive, almost like dinosaurs. But in the end, it's like, it's just something rehashed from something else with a twist. And, I think like a lot of movies going forward are just going to fail constantly trying to come up with new, alien species for us to be scared of. I mean, I just feel like between the alien movies and everything, it's like we've just gotten everything we can get. To find anything original now is just, So the creature was kind of cool, but it wasn't great. It just reminded me of the creatures in A Quiet Place mixed in with a couple other things. Like I said, it's funny because it's like when we were watching it last night, I thought the movie ended like after his daughter slipped away and fell off the balcony into the pit, into the ocean with all the rest of those creatures. And he had the thing in his hand, the serum, and he goes back and they're like, thank you, you got back. And then he got to look at his kids again. And I thought, okay, he's going to do everything right and turn this over to the right people. So they can come up with a huge supply of this. So when these creatures start coming around, they can fight them and they can actually turn the tide on the war in the future. But then it like turned into a separate movie altogether. So where I felt like it ended, it just kept going. And then it just kind of got to me, I sat there watching it, and I remember when they were so, we got to find a ship. And when they found the ship, and then they found the guy strapped in the cockpit, turned upside down because it was a wrecked ship from outer space, and it was a creature. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, let me guess. This guy's like the space jockey from Aliens. And I said it to my wife. She was right there. And I was like, this is like Aliens. It's like they've got these things on board. Obviously, that's not it. And so when they found them all in the tanks, it reminded me of, finding all the eggs in Alien. And, it's like the space jockey, was in his gunner seat with his chest exploded, and very something similar here. This guy is in the gunner seat or in the cockpit in a wrecked ship that kind of is in a horseshoe, the way they've got all the creatures. Now, it could have been the director, Chris McKay, like paying homage. See, the problem is, to me, paying homage to a movie, I've said this before in other videos, if you're going to pay homage to something that came prior and you loved it, don't copy it and make a carbon copy of it, or make it like Diet Coke versus Coke. What you have to do is, if you love the movie Alien, get a little Alien action figure and put it in a kid's room in a scene on a shelf, and that's paying homage. That's like, oh, it's a nod to what came before. But when you ripping off something that, it's just, to me, it was so blatant at the end there. With the alien stuff, it just felt like, the movie should have ended when, a half hour earlier, when he got back and he had the serum. And I just feel like if the movie had wrapped up there, it would have been really good. Not to take away anything that came after that, that last 30 minutes or so, again, it was like more jokes, more everything. And then I felt like J.K. Simmons, he was getting ready to sacrifice himself and do the right thing by his son. And the creature was coming at him. And he had cut his hand, so the creature, because the creature was blind at that point, can smell the blood on his hand, and it was coming for him. And I thought, wow, this is great. This is the moment where he redeems himself and sacrifices himself for his son, Chris Pratt. And then, of course, Chris Pratt comes out of nowhere and jumps on the thing with an axe or whatever, and he's hatching at it in the whole 9 yards, and then saves the day, and it plays out, and then the father and son survive. And to me, it reminded me of the same scene in The Last Jedi, which I openly do not like that film, where Finn was getting ready to sacrifice himself and fly right into the Death Star tech. And I remember in the theater thinking, oh my God, this is probably the ballsiest move anyone could ever make. He's about to kill himself, almost like in Independence Day when what's his name, Randy Quaid, flew in and sacrificed himself into the last mothership. I thought this was that moment. And then all of a sudden Rose Tico hits him out of nowhere and crashes him and is like, I love you, and kisses him. And it was like, it took away this possible character arc that John Boyega could have had, which would have made his death such a moving moment in that film. Same thing here. J.K. Simmons should have died in that scene, but the choice was made to save him. And it just, to me, it just took away from the movie. And, but overall, it felt like Starship Troopers. They had to capture a again, it's like they had to capture one of them to bring them back to learn what they could learn from them to defeat the others. Same thing in Starship Troopers. They had to catch the mother in the cave. Same thing. They caught this one in a cave. Again, it was like Chris McKay, the director, and Zach Dean, who wrote this thing, kind of were like, we were fans growing up of Alien, and we were fans of, Starship Troopers, and we're fans of, time travel, Terminator with the time travel. Like, they took like all the cool things they loved and they squished it all together in one movie. Unfortunately, I felt like although the movie was okay, it suffered because they pulled things out from all their favorite movies, which is another reason why I'm not a big fan of Stranger Things, because I feel like almost every episode of Stranger Things, they're just cherry picking all the 80s movies that were awesome. And then they put something out that people gravitate towards because they remember how cool the 80s movies were back in the day, whether it be E.T. or Goonies or Jaws, or it's just an amalgam of all of those films. And to me, that's not original. That's just a couple of guys in a room liking something and saying, hey, we're going to do this. But instead of it being Coca-Cola, it's going to be Diet Coke. Or instead of Coke, you're going to get a Tab. For the people that don't remember Tab, I'll try to do Coke, or you're going to get the off-brand label. That's how I feel like. But overall, I think the movie was pretty successful as far as like getting the audience into it. It looks like it's got a 53% Rotten Tomato score. IMDb has a 6.7 out of 10. So I think people got hyped about it, maybe watching the trailers, which I didn't watch the trailers before I started watching the film. I think they got hyped about it, jumped right in, and it was a great popcorn, fun movie if you wanted to just watch something silly and watch a lot of guns go off and creatures getting killed, and it accomplished what its goal was. I just don't think it was a, knocking it out of the park. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Tomorrow War, which is currently streaming now on Amazon Prime. And it stars Chris Pratt, J.K. Simmons, Betty Gilpin was in it, Sam Richardson. It had an all-star cast. Everybody was fun. There were a lot of fresh faces, and faces obviously we've grown to love. So there you go. That's my thoughts on the Tomorrow War. What did you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comments section, and we'll see you on the next one.